welcome to Student Voice. I'm April Shaw. Did you know we have a costume design class on campus? What if I told you it was taught by someone with Broadway experience? With me today is costume designer and actress, Brenda Schwab. Brenda, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Brenda, will you tell us a little bit about yourself? What is it that you do on campus?
I costume all the shows, all the productions that are done at Chattanooga State. And I teach Costume 1 and Costume 2 and special topics in costume as well.
Okay, that's so cool. How long have you been doing this?
I've been at Chattanooga State since the summer of 2004, actually. I've been teaching the class, I guess, for about, maybe since 2012, I think. So, yeah, I was originally brought in by Rex Knowles and Sherry Landrum, who were head of the theater department at that time, who had the professional actress training program. I was brought in by them and have been here ever since, basically. So, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your full theater background? Like, what was it like being an actor in New York, or trying to make it as an actor in New York?
Well, I never did try to make it in New York as an actor. My New York experience came from That Other Woman's Child at the New York Musical Theater Festival. So I don't even know if that still exists. The program still exists, but people from all over the country submit new musicals and hope to be picked up. And Rex and Sherry submitted That Other Woman's Child, which they wrote with George, I can't remember his last name, but anyway. And they submitted and were accepted. And I went up there to costume that. And it's interesting because as a result of that, I do have a Broadway online review for my costumes.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And you're right here at Chat State, and people don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. I used to joke, and of course you were one of my students, and we always used to joke about being one of the best kept secrets on campus. You know, because we've, when I came the summer of 2004, there was nothing. I mean, the attic where I first started the costume shop and classroom, the attic above the stage was an attic, literally an attic. There were a few costume racks up there, some old choir robes and the ugly teal choir dresses. So I created a space up there to work in, and as it developed, we gained more stock, and it also became a classroom. Now I'm downstairs in H138 because it is handicapped accessible. But yeah, there was nothing when I came here. So Becky Bradford had also been here at the time and had a children's theater program and taught intro to theater. And she had a few things up there, but it was, but that's what theater people do. You make a space work for whatever you need it to be. So anyway, yeah, like I said, I've been here since 2004, and I have costumed every production since then.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
How would you compare the costume scene up in the North compared to trying to make it down here in the South?
Well, I think, you know, I'm working in an educational setting now, but I think it's much more competitive in places like New York. And my other experience as a costumer has been in regional theater. I was at Cumberland County Playhouse off and on for 12 years in Crossville. And so most of my costume experience has been in that kind of a vein. My ex and I were part of the first professional acting company that they hired there. My first job with them was 1979, and they were just starting to transition into professional staff. And they wanted actors. I'm trying not to look at the photos. Sorry, some of these I have not seen. But they wanted to hire professional actors who also had technical expertise. And that's also how I met Rex and Sherry, who ended up here. But yeah, and most of the acting jobs I have done have been all over the South and Midwest, regional and dinner theater. Most of my acting experience has been in professional dinner theater and regional theater. So never tried to do the big New York thing. Just wanted to do good theater.
Do you have any interesting stories from the theater? I'm sure you do.
Well, actor story, yes, which I think was kind of a funny experience. I was doing Maria in The Sound of Music at a professional dinner theater in Rock Island, Illinois, called Circa 21. And actors all kid about method actors, you know. Everything, you know, motivation. What's my motivation? What's my motivation? And so we had a rehearsal in the rehearsal hall, and the producer was not the director. And the producer came in to watch a rehearsal, and we finished the rehearsal, and the director was giving notes to the actor playing Franz the butler. And to which he said, you know, I've given you that move, I've given you that note 4 or 5 times, and you have not done it. What's the problem? And he said, well, I just don't feel the motivation. I just don't think my character would do that. To which the producer stood up and said, your motivation is your paycheck. Get your butt to the other side of the stage.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. I always thought that was a really great story. That particular producer, he was a very good producer. He was really a smart man. Denny Hitchcock is his name.
Do you consider yourself a method actress?
Yes. Oh. Not to that extent. Not to that extent. But yes, I have a process where I work, as Stanislavski says, from the inside out. And I do consider myself somewhat of a method actress, yes. And it's so funny because we were talking about costumes. When you work as an actor and you get to be, especially a woman of my age, now there seem to be more roles for men of my age in theater than really there are for women my age. But there are less and less roles that are available. And so that's how I guess my career as a costume designer has continued to develop, although that was what I was doing at Cumberland County, and at another theater. I was part of professional staff at Giles Heritage Theater in Pulaski. But my stepfather said to me one day, he said, I just realized something about you. He said, you do all this other stuff like costumes and scenic painting and all this other stuff just so you can be up there, don't you? On the stage. And I said, well, I'd never thought of it that way, but I suppose in a way, because you're still part of the process. You're still part of the creative process and part of creating something for an audience. Even though you may not be on stage, you are still part of that creative process, which is, when you love doing theater, that's that's still satisfying.
What has been your favorite show to costume?
Gosh, I don't know. I've been doing this close to 50 years. I think The Importance of Being Earnest, which we did last fall, because it was such a beautiful collaboration between scenic elements and costume elements. I really thought it was a beautiful, beautiful, a feast for the eyes for the audience, I thought. And that's what I always think is, is important, that the show pulls the audience in by its creative elements and, makes the audience a part of what's going on stage. Yeah, so I guess probably The Importance of Being Earnest.
So what would you like to tell potential students about your class?
My class is part of the transfer track now for theater students. But my class is pretty laid back. I think most of my students have a good time in the class. It's part art, part home ec, and part theater, because we do discuss theater history. We discuss how costumes have evolved over the centuries, and we discuss fashion and how fashion has evolved. Fashion trends have evolved over the decades, and we work on sewing skills, either developing them or helping to make them better. And every student works with a particular play over the semester. All their work is done on that play, and you choose a character in that play to create a costume, to design a costume yourself for, and it's created for you. You create it for you, and that's your final project. But I think, and you do renderings. We talk about the elements of design, the principles of design, and how they pertain to garments. We talk about color theory. We talk about all kinds of things, and we talk about characters and how costumes define a character, just like what we wear in our everyday lives kind of define who we are and what we're doing that particular day. But I think it's you just have to come wanting to learn, have an interest in sewing. And it's not necessarily for costumes, for theater, because some of the first young men I had in the class were cosplayers or drag queens. So they wanted to learn how to build their own pieces. One fellow in particular did fabulous duct tape armor, and he sent me pictures of it, but he wanted to learn how to make the fabric elements. So I think hopefully everybody has come out of the class having a good experience. I think they have.
I can say from experience that I have.
Good. It was a joy having you in class.
It was a joy having you as a teacher.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for this episode of Student Voice. For more information about costume design and construction 1 and 2, visit the catalog at chattanoogastate.edu. Thank you for watching.